Welcome back to the Georgia show. We are packed tonight. We've got a lot of truth bombs we're going to drop. And as long as Bill doesn't swallow the out pouch. Bill, you're good. You're doing good, right?
I'm good. It's ironic we're doing the Georgia show and you look like you're in Miami Beach. So,
Yes, this is home base. So we have a full show today. I want to give a shout out to one of our new distribution partners who gets millions of views a month, whatfinger.com. We like people who like to put out stories that the rest of the call it the legacy media, the narrative, the Matrix, the Mockingbird media. They tell the truth like we do, and they put a lot of our content up. So please support them. Go to whatfinger.com and check them out. Put it in your daily scan. They have a great aggregation of a lot of different stuff. I love the way they lay it out. Bill, who do we got today? It's gonna be a packed show.
well, it's going to be very interesting. We're going to review the event that happened last night in Marietta. It was sponsored by Amy Kremer, and it was meant to give a voice to the candidates who have chosen not to sign the unbelievable 9-page NDA, non-disparagement agreement that's demanded by the Georgia GOP. So it gave them a venue to speak, and it was amazing. I mean, they ended up having to move in extra tables and extra chairs, and significantly more people than they had planned on, and they all wanted to hear the stories and what's going on. So we'll talk about that. We'll have a couple of videos from that event and a very special video that Kylie Kremer put out, or we put out on her behalf, that talks about some things that are hidden behind the curtain. We're going to welcome in Brian K. Pritchard from Voice of Rural America and BKP Politics, and also the Georgia Hour. Get some feedback from him. He is one of the people that has had the most experience, I guess I would say, in dealing with the GOP in its current structure, dealing with Josh McKoon, and is in a very strong position to be able to describe what he has experienced. So we'll have the chance to hear that.
Yeah, we like to share the stage with partners who have the same view of the world as us, and BKP is definitely in that box. So why don't we run a quick ad? David Cross is our financial advisor. He's the guy to go to if you have issues in your life that you need financial advice with: death, divorce, sale of a business, especially. There's always transfers of money, and you want to make sure it's done well, because you could really harm your situation if you don't. So David's the guy to call. Can you run a quick ad for David, please?
This is a special report.
Knowing how to invest your money is harder than ever before. Dealing with stock market volatility, record debt, and terrorist attacks requires new thinking. At U.S. Asset Management, we can help you see the world more clearly so that you can move beyond the chaos and invest with confidence. Call us, visit us online, or drop by our office. U.S. Asset Management, helping you make better decisions with your money.
Okay, Bill, let's get rolling.
All right, very good. So first up, again, we're going to talk a little bit about the event last night at the Marietta Fish Market. It included the folks you see here. It was hosted by Amy Kremer, and one of the things we learned is Amy Kremer has been and is well aware of the challenges going on within the Georgia GOP. And so to her credit, she elected to host this event and allow these folks to reach directly the delegates, and boy, did they ever. So I had the chance before the event began to sit and speak with Lisa Pierce. Lisa and her husband have been at many, if not most, of the events that have occurred to allow the candidates to speak. And just a charming family. They own a farm down in Upson County, and it's just a envious lifestyle and a very strong corporate background, which we're going to hear about. So let's hear from Lisa as we get going. All right, thanks for joining us. This is Bill Quinn. I am here with Lisa Pierce, and we are here at the candidate forum being held at Marietta Fish Market. So Lisa, hi, it's good to see you.
It's good to see you again.
Had one heck of a drive coming in, didn't you?
I did. It seems to be I'm becoming a professional driver again.
I wish I could achieve that. So we're 8 days away from the convention, if I'm doing the math right. You've talked to hundreds of people now, and you're hearing a lot of feedback. What's the latest? What are people worried about? What do they want you to do? What is your vision now that you've had a few weeks to get ready for this?
I hear a lot about transparency. That seems to be the biggest issue. They want not only the financial transparency, but they also want the communication, something that they're not getting right now from the Georgia GOP. And I talk a lot about what my vision is, to see what I would like to do as a project. And it's really training our chairmen and women, because as you know, I've talked about it before, is I was brand new last year in 2024. I had no idea what I was doing. And I had chair people around me, but they were also new and they didn't know what to do. So I sat down and we formulated a strategic plan, and we really pushed hard. We had Get Out the Vote events. We had Ben Carson come to our events, and we really pushed that. But we need training, and we have a lot of great chairmen and chairwomen out there that have a lot of experience. Plus, I just found out last night that the RNC actually has a training for new chairs. Who knew? So I would like to take advantage of that and be able to get all of our counties working together as 159 counties pushing towards the 2026 election.
It's interesting you bring this up, because a lot of people, even past candidates, have talked about providing help for the counties to bring them up to speed, let them share good ideas. And yet it does seem difficult, and for whatever reason, it doesn't seem to have happened very broadly up to now. You mentioned 159 counties. Maybe that's part of it, but just looking at the first few weeks of a couple of the new districts, they already are beginning to draw together people so they can share ideas.
It's fantastic.
And I'm getting a sense of a lot more collaboration. I don't know exactly why, but just the grassroots folks that have taken over some of the districts and are leading them seem to really focus on that, and they're able to pull it off quickly.
But that's how we win. I mean, it's really not that hard. It's called communication. And because of my past experience in the corporate world, it's not that hard to bring people together, to work as a team, and to be able to come together and share best practices. It's common sense.
Yep. You've talked about your experience in the corporate world, and I think people are interested in that because it helps give a sense of how broad your skills really are.
Right.
Just one more time, tell folks how you worked and what you did in the corporate schema up until you transitioned to what you're doing now.
to taking care of animals. So for 27 years, I worked in the pharmaceutical and medical device companies. I traveled all over the state, and I was responsible for not only territories, but I was also responsible for people. I was a manager of people. And so our whole goal was to grow our territories, to get to know people, to work with different hospital systems. And when I worked in medical devices, I worked with every hospital system within the state of Georgia. And one thing you have to know is everybody's important. Everybody's important. I don't care if it's the janitor or the CEO. They all play a very special role in moving whatever that strategic goal is forward. So I had to formulate strategic plans. I had to make sure those strategic plans were in place. But more importantly, once you execute them, you go back and check, is it working? Is it not working? And if it's not working, what do we need to do different? But you have to have a team of people together. And I promise you, the people that I work with cardiologists who aren't necessarily the easiest people to work with. So you have to have a special skill set to work with different individuals, and you talk to people differently depending on their role within the company. So you have to be able to read people, you have to be able to work with people to be successful. And that's something that I did for 27 years and was very successful in what I did.
Well, that's great. So it looks like there's going to be a pretty darn good turnout at the state convention. And I know it's kind of up in the corner of the state. Have you been up to Dalton before?
I have. I've actually worked out of that hospital
Really?
system. Yes, I have. So, sorry. I've been everywhere. Even up to Fort Oglethorpe. I've been up to their hospital and worked in there.
I'll be darned.
So
So it sounds like it's going to be a fun time. I can already hear people putting plans together for little side meetings and side get-togethers and so forth. So if you haven't yet made your plans and made registration and so forth, highly recommend you do. Every voice needs to be heard up there in these coming days. And it sounds like a lot of people want the same things, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, they want paper ballots. They want paper ballots at the convention. And we need to honor that. President Trump put forth an executive order for that, and we need to honor them and set the example that we can do it as well.
It's interesting. We just published an article this morning from Garland Favorito talking about the executive order and its implications specifically for Georgia. So it means something, and it's perhaps a little disappointing that the legislators and so forth haven't made as much progress as perhaps we would have liked to see.
Right.
But I think coming out of this convention, the right team is going to be able to put some pressure on the legislators to get things done. You think so?
I know so. I know so. I feel very confident that that's going to happen.
That's great. All right. Well, we will be here through the evening to tape your presentation and the other candidates. So we're looking forward to it. Thanks for taking a few minutes.
Well, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to speak to you again. Thank you.
You bet. Just a great conversation, and again, great candidate and great family. So very honored to be able to get some time with her. Let's go ahead and let's welcome in BKP as we get going on the next thing. There was a statement that gets made, and I'd like to hear his thoughts on it, if that's okay, Todd.
Yeah, let's go for it.
All right. Brian K. Pritchard, host of BKP Politics and the Georgia Hour on Voice of Rural America. Thank you for being here, my friend.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. It's been about 3 months now, and in the morning I would do 2 hours of national and Georgia, and it'd all be mixed up. I got a lot of people in our national audience say, well, I don't want to hear everything about Georgia. I said, okay, we'll throw in the third hour and we'll just talk about Georgia for an hour. So from 8 to 10, we dabble into the national news of the day. And then from 10 to 11, we focus 100% on Georgia. Our focus right now is the Georgia GOP Inc. upcoming convention and the state officer races. We'll switch gears after June 7th and get more into the Georgia races for governor and so forth. But that's what we're doing right now, and we know that's what you're working on, Bill, and thank you for having me.
You bet. So before we move on, in case folks have not yet found it, if you will go up to the Georgia Record, on the front page, you'll find this article. Within it, you'll have access to each of the speeches by the 5 candidates that presented there. And you'll also find them on our X channels, so you can access them there. But that way you get to hear exactly what they said. We're going to hear an excerpt from another comment that gets made next. And I guess the way I want to preface this is, there's this sense, I think, and I believe a lot of folks would agree, that there's movement behind the curtain, things going on that we don't see. Things don't often add up. They don't seem to be productive in the way you would expect. And sometimes they seem to be working at adverse purposes. And so one of the things that happened last night was that several candidates brought out things that people I don't think knew before. And they begin to piece together a picture of what is going on in the Georgia GOP and has gone on for apparently quite some time. So if you'll bear with me, I'm going to go ahead and play this. This is a statement by Kylie Jane Kremer during the evening.
No, I was not promised anything, but they were propping my mom up to run for that position. So when that happened, and then, she was not accepted, they shut down the convention immediately after. They were audible gassed, as she talked about a little bit before. Then it was like crazy of anything that I wanted to talk about. Those very same people that came to me and asked for my help, that gave me the information about Jason Thompson working for Brad Raffensperger, that gave me the information about Josh McKoon working for Brian Kemp, and many other things, and I will name them. It was Sally Grubbs and Caroline Jeffords. Those 2 women then turned around and were very unhappy. They wrote emails that they gave to my mom. I'm sorry that I'm telling the story. but they gave emails that they wanted my mom to send to Josh McKoon, begging for forgiveness and apologizing and saying, "Oh, dear Chairman, I'm just so excited to work with you and I'm sorry for anything that's happened." And my mom said, "I'm sorry. I appreciate his title as being chairman, and I'm certainly going to be respectful, but I don't need to be told how to treat people with respect. I can correspond with them, and I've gotten to the place that I've gotten in politics because of my leadership skills and because I'm a respectful person. But what happened in that race was anything from respectful. The same thing that happened in my mom's race when she was running for RNC National Committee Woman is the same thing that's happening now. They gave her a one-page NDA to sign for the delegate list. She signed it. 9 or 11 days later, she still had not received it. They came back to her. Josh McKoon and Karen Hinchell came back to her and said, "Oh wait, accidental clerical error, we sent you the wrong document. You now need to sign this 9-page NDA, the same one that they're asking us to sign now." Well, I was on my little computer skills and I figured out that the document, my mom had responded in that time period, and Josh McKoon said, "Jason Thompson and Ginger Howard already signed this one. They signed it originally because they had been sending emails out from the very beginning." Well, guess what? In the metadata of the 9-page NDA, it was created a day before they sent it to my mom. So there was no physical way that they could have actually signed that 11 or 9 days prior that Josh McKoon was claiming.
So just so folks understand what that is, metadata is data inside files like Word files and PDF files and other things. It indicates when a document was created and sometimes more information as well, but you can track when it was created, sometimes by whom and so forth. And this is just indicative of what we find as we dig into some of this stuff. Things are other than what are being portrayed and other than what's being explained by the GOP officials. So BKP, let me get your thoughts on all of that that Kylie just went through.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when this took place. I was aware of this. I wanted to leave it up to them to put that out. I didn't know exactly when Kylie would open up and talk about this, and I'm glad she did. This is exactly, I mean, this goes right down the list of everything and how they operated. And Caroline Jeffords, what people have to remember, Caroline Jeffords, the current secretary, and Sally Grubbs, the current chair over 80, former Cobb chair. You know, when I first became first vice chair, they were calling me, and I can go into detail maybe at a different time, but they were calling me, and they were trying to figure out, like, what's Josh doing? And then magically, and I know when it happened, they switched and became these major Josh supporters. You know, Kylie's 100% right. Amy won the race. She goes on the stage, she wins. She gets off the stage. She is the RNC, Georgia State Committee woman. Josh doesn't shake her hand, the chairman. He doesn't say congratulations. He doesn't send out an email telling the executive committee, here is her information. Congratulations. She will be representing us. I mean, it's just the way he operates. And, you know, when I say there's not a lot to add, Kylie's 100% correct. I know the story very well.
Okay. Thank you for that. You know, one of the things that you see is people are people, and they don't, in my mind, my opinion, they don't seem to change very much over time unless there's something massive that happens in their life. So what I've found with employees, with bosses, with everybody else, what you see is often what you get over time. And I think that'll be important for people to consider, especially given some of the other things we're going to talk about on the show about behavior, reaction or lack of reaction to various things. And they need to take this into account in terms of, you know, making their selection and deciding how they want the Republican Party led as we go forward. I would say this is probably the most critical stage, the most critical choice that the Republican Party is going to make in Georgia for certainly the foreseeable future.
Yeah, and you know what we have to be clear on, what we're uncovering, what we're bringing to the forefront, what we're discussing is because we want to win in 26. We want to right the ship now. We want to make the corrections. We want to make it to where the grassroots all around the state want to get involved, want to be a part, because we're going to need everybody in 2026 in the next election. Trump's not on the ballot. Josh is not the greatest head coach as he tries to, portray himself to be. But everything we are doing, and when I say everything, it's a big word, it's only to put the people in place to open up the Georgia GOP to where we can be competitive and win in 2026. Because I have to tell you, things are not in our favor right now. Believe it or not, I know Trump won.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, Bill, you may be going to talk about this, but how's it looking to get people to the convention in a few days? Can you hear me?
You want to handle that, BKP? You want me to take a guess?
Well, no, I mean, he said Bill, but I'll take it. I never shy away from one. Okay.
Okay.
But how's it looking getting people to the convention? Well, here's the thing, it's in the furthest corner of the state. We've dealt with that before. It's in Dalton, the furthest corner of the state. I like Dalton. It's driving distance for me as far as, a couple hours. So it's not really bad, but it's, there's not a lot to do there, and it's not a negative Dalton comment, but they put it in the 14th district, in the heart of, and Josh put it surrounding people much like Denise Burns, the former chair of the 14th district, and people that could move the convention in his direction. That's one thing. Second, I'm hearing last night, I got a phone call from Loudoun County. That is right on the Florida line. Lady said, look, I've got 4 delegates that can't afford to go. They just can't afford to go. From the Florida state line to Dalton is a 7-hour trip. It's not a day trip. They can't afford to go. They're David Cross delegates. I think David is very strong in the 2nd district. I think he's strong in the 1st district. A lot of patriots in those areas. I think he's strong all across the state. But right now, getting the delegates to Dalton, it's going to be a task. Now, I think what we've done here, Todd, and I think with Bill and many others, myself on a daily basis, Bill nonstop, David, the others, I think what we've done is we've shifted the narrative. I would say a month ago, we had a lot of delegates like, I don't know if I want to make the trip, like it's in the bag for Josh. And I think recently the delegates are saying, I don't know. I think David has a chance. So I think that mood, and that's what we needed. We really needed that in the race. We needed that mood for people to say it's worth taking the trip. So I'm hopeful. I know, Bill, you registered and you made a comment on the number of registrants the other day when you registered. So what say you?
Well, so I know that everything you just said is true. This appears to have been constructed in this way so that it is as difficult as possible for folks to attend, and for many it is. It's also notable that this is up in the 14th district, right, BKP?
Yeah.
And the 14th is kind of a well-known bastion for McKoon supporters. So as many different ways as it appears they're trying to stack the deck, they're doing it. Will it work? I think what I heard last night, and that was from people around a good section. Some had driven an hour and a half to be there. More than filled room. You could see it during the videos we showed. People, they had to make room for folks to speak over by the door because table space and seating space was taken more than up. And I think I heard people say, I don't want this to go any other way than these folks that are standing in front of me. These guys are speaking the truth. I can hear it. It's what I want. They have a plan. They have a commitment, and they're not going to be playing. They're not playing these games that we're seeing elsewhere. And I heard a lot of positive feedback last night. So I'm hopeful that will be duplicated by other people, both seeing the videos that were produced from that, seeing previous videos. And there's still a couple events. One's going on tonight, I believe, that will allow folks to see and hear more.
Well, let me say something about Lisa Pierce that you had on earlier. This is huge, okay? And the significance of this is so large because why would a congressman, all right, she's running for first vice chair. That's an important spot, but it's first vice chair of a state party. Why get involved? So, there's a couple things. Josh has endorsements from the president, and I don't think he earned the endorsement, and I don't think he deserves the endorsement, and he should have to give it back. He doesn't support the president, but he has endorsements from the president, all the way down, as somebody joked the other day, to the local dog catcher. and I understand why. I can understand why. We could do a whole show on why those endorsements are out there, and I can shine a light on that. But in the third district, Congressman Brian Jack endorsed Lisa Pierce. Now, what is really huge about this? Now, Congressman Brian Jack in the third district, freshman congressman, he started with Trump in 2016. Congressman Jack has been with Donald Trump since 2016, all the way through. Trump endorsed him in the third district. He's now the congressman. Why would this congressman say, let me get involved in a first vice chair race and endorse this lady? So you have this one side over here. They're calling us. I love it. They have admitted. They call themselves the MAGA establishment. I have the graphic. They're calling themselves the MAGA establishment, and they're calling us the wannabes, the newbies and wannabes. I'm like, you really put that out? So
that's pretty arrogant.
Yeah. So,
well, it's also baffling. I mean, it's like saying the president's biggest supporter, Lindsey Graham. I mean, come on.
So Brian Jack, there's people going around the state saying, well, Lisa Pierce, she's not qualified. She shouldn't be running. She hasn't paid her dues. But Brian Jack, the congressman, said, you know what? I've watched her at work. She does exactly what we need done to win campaigns, to win elections, and do the work. And he endorsed her. So, I mean, I'm putting a lot of time into that, but that is huge. Now, in transparency, Brian Jack did not endorse any of the other candidates, but to step up and kindly go to that side, that was a big endorsement for Lisa Pierce. And I think that kind of a confidence, you have the confidence of this congressman. We have to instill the confidence in the delegates. There's a reason to go. There's a reason to go. This one is not over.
Yep, there is indeed. Todd, did you want to take a quick break before we continue?
Yeah, let's do that. We have a new sponsor. It's not so new now, outpouch.com. I'm going to run an ad. They have a new ad out, which I'm going to run. 1 second, and we'll talk about it after.
Since we launched Alp, we've had 4 flavors, but we are proud to announce Alp has a brand new flavor, one of several we'll be rolling out over the next year or so, and it is Sweet Nectar. I have personally tested this product 2 at a time, and it's excellent. Sweet Nectar, the new flavor out from Alp, really, really good. Go to outpouch.com. You can order it in bulk by the pallet if you want. I have strongly recommended Sweet Nectar. And stay tuned for more new flavors.
Now that's not Sweet Nectar, but that is Alp, and it is wonderful. So we believe in it.
Great endorsement. Yes, we do, and it has all kind of good effects to the body, we think. And don't use the woke Zen. Why would you buy something where they have DEI all over their website? So go to outpouch.com/CDM and support free media and leave a legacy to your grandchildren. It's a great way to do that. Back to you guys.
Okay. So, BKP, we started by saying that you have probably a broader base of experience with the members of the executive committee, and especially Josh McKoon, at least trying to have that relationship, than anybody else, given all the toils and tribulations that you've been put through. Earlier this week, you released an hour-long phone call that occurred, I believe you explained it occurred after the infamous fish fry from hell in Perry. And it was time to air some issues that needed to be discussed. And I'll simply start by saying you did this as anybody that knows you would expect you to. You want a direct, open discussion, man to man, to air the feelings, the experience, and see if there's a way to move forward. Is that a fair assessment?
Well, we're close to 3 months in the administration. I'm the first vice chair of the Georgia Republican Party. And, Travis is hired, unbeknownst to me, David Cross, second vice chair, the treasurer, any of us. He's hired as the executive director of the Georgia Republican Party. And we're totally in the dark. We're totally in the dark. And the one thing with me that this was a boiling point. The phone call was a boiling point. And, as the rules of the Georgia Republican Party, God forbid something happen, it doesn't work this way with the second vice chair. But in the rules of the Georgia Republican Party, God forbid anything would happen for any reason the chair cannot serve, immediately the first vice chair assumes the duties of the chair. And going in, when we left Columbus, I had a conversation with the chairman, and I said, the rules say you are the BIG. You're in charge, okay? You make all the decisions. I'm going to ask you nicely to keep me in the loop. You don't have to ask me to do anything. You don't have to ask my permission. It's in the rules. You don't have to ask my permission for anything. You can do whatever you want. Can you keep me in the loop? I'll stay back here. But God forbid I wake up one morning and somebody says, "Oh, you're the chair." And I say, I don't know I don't know where bank accounts are. I don't know where anything's at. And I had this conversation with him over and over, and we're 3 months in, and, and my phone would ring off the hook, and this would be the statement all around the state. You're the first vice chair. What are you going to do about it? I can't get Josh on the phone. He won't return my text message. So this went on, and there's some things concerning the governor and some things concerning David and my authority and what I'm to do. And the fish fry was the boiling point. After the fish fry, I called him up for an hour, and I told him, so we hit the wall. We have to have a man-to-man discussion. And actually, what I'm trying to tell you is you're 3 months into your administration, you got a chance to recover, or we got a problem. So, I hope I laid it out well there.
You did. One of the things that I wanted to make sure people understood is you had communication and concerns from people coming in before the fish fry.
Oh, absolutely.
And attempted to reach Josh how many times? 3, 4, 5? To try to start a conversation.
There were multiple days.
Yeah, and you also engaged with Chan Jones to change course, hopefully to advise him that this probably would not go well. I won't put words in your mouth, but to try to influence the situation that was clearly shaping up to be poor, and indeed was poor. Voter GA was told, I think less than 24 hours before that they, or maybe a day and a half before, they wouldn't be welcome to hold their table inside. They had paid for a table. They were going to hand out things, as they often do. The Grady County Boys and the Georgians for Truth organization were going to be there in their paper ballots, please T-shirts. And all of a sudden it's, nope, can't have the T-shirts. Anybody that comes in has to either change shirt or we'll refund your money and you have to leave. And it's just remarkable. It's just set a tone so unlike Republican standards. What do we stand for? We stand for constitutional law, free speech, all of that stuff, and yet we're going against it at a Republican event.
All right, now let's put all that together because you did a great job opening the door. So what does that mean? What does that mean? And I'm going to tell you exactly what it means. The Georgia Republican Party, yes, we've got some that are, excuse me, folks, I call them the Democrat wing of the Republican Party in Georgia. But we have this lane over here, okay? And we've got a center lane, all right? We'll save that for another show. But then we have the base over here. And you have to respect everybody to go down the road to win elections in Georgia. That's just where we're at. That's again for another day. So what you just said, all that equals leadership. And Josh, and this is not an attack. I've got the audio. Everybody knows everything you just brought up is proof that Josh lacks leadership in situations where needed, when needed. Because the thing is, okay, if you pay for a place, you can deem it private. So I want to be clear here in the interest of time. We can have the Chan Jones discussion. He's right, he's wrong, he's bad, he's good, all that. I'm not going to say it's irrelevant, but the point is the 8th District Fish Fry, they have it every year. I've been to about 7 of them. And they rent the place, they put it on, they can call it a private event. Okay, fine. Let's leave that out of it. But the thing about it is that Josh McKoon could have made a statement, could have intervened, could have talked to people, but he just went totally dark. So Chan Jones decides, hey, voter GA can't set up a table. And you know what? They reserved the right. They took the money, names on the marquee, can't set it up. Guess what? You can't wear this T-shirt. All right, fine, can't do it. Where's Josh? Nowhere to be found. So I have Garland Favorito calling me, Brian, they took my money. We're trying to get Josh. Can you talk to Josh? Sure. I call Chan Jones. I've got the paper ballot team calling me. Hey, we can't wear our T-shirts. Can you figure this? Sure. I'm texting. I'm calling. Everything is going on. I have 2 conversations with Chan, and I told Chan, I said, Chan, this is going to go national. You're not going to want the publicity because it's not going to be good for Georgia. They're coming. You better be prepared. You better be ready. And the last thing I said to him in my last conversation, I was very nice. I said, Chan, I'm going to ask you respectfully, very polite, please don't do this. Please don't do this. And he said, we made a decision. Josh is nowhere to be found in any of this. Lack of leadership.
So 2 questions there. One is, now looking at it and looking at the other reactions and actions that Josh has made, do you believe this was critical avoidance? Was he just avoiding the conversation, do you think? I know it's just your opinion.
No, if you go and listen to my 1-hour conversation, it's a 1-hour conversation. If you go and listen to it, it is anytime leadership is required, anytime a hard decision is required, anytime, and there's times if you're the CEO or you're leading an organization, there's times when you say, this is what we're doing, and that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
But anytime a decision where leadership is needed, Josh cannot be found regardless the subject. I can go over and over and over on multiple occasions where I tried to address things. David tried to address things. He had meetings with the governor, and he had meetings with Governor Kemp. And, we never heard what happened in the meetings. We asked him over and over. So, I put the call out. It's 1 hour. I'm getting a phone call. I get a phone call. And believe it or not, no matter when you listen to the phone call, how you perceive it it was actually total respect from me to Josh being up front. I get a phone call. Hey, why is Josh McKoon's wife, why is Jacqueline working in the office? I don't know. Okay. Why is Travis hanging up the phone on me, and why won't he return my calls or answer my emails? I don't know. I mean, this was continuous. The operation switched. What people need to know is when Travis left, and David's done a good job documenting the money that Travis received as Josh McKoon's friend.
Mm-hmm.
When Travis left, and I don't know this young man that's in there now, Justin Rice, but all indications is the RNC brought the guy in to handle the election. And when he came in and the money was being spent and Trump Force 47 was on a roll, Josh was not needed to be in a decision making or have real leadership skills, ability to handle things. They were all running from the top.
So not really a coach, more like more like a pedestrian or whatever you want to call it. So one of the things I think I heard you say was that when you finally did connect with Josh and were able to say, why couldn't this be dealt with? I think you reported that he simply said, I can't control the 8th district. Was that correct?
Yeah, he said, I don't control the 8th district. What they do is they always make sure they have plausible deniability.
Mm-hmm.
If a county does something, if a Republican county does something, he makes sure he could separate himself away. Like, I can't tell that county what to do. If a district does something, now I find it interesting. The 8th district is a part of the executive committee of the Georgia Republican Party in the structure, but he says, I can't make a decision on the 8th district. They have their own committee. And, okay, all right. But what Josh could have done is Josh could have respected Garland Favorito and picked up the phone and said, Garland, I regret Chan's doing this. I am in it. I'm the top. All right, Garland, I'm talking to Chan. I'm seeing what I can do to handle this. I regret it's going this way, and I'd like to see a resolve. He could have picked up the phone himself, but I actually have in the audio you would be able to hear. I discussed the entire fish fry with him, and I discussed his absence, and you can hear in the conversation him admit his absence. And then he shows up. He said, I showed up, and these people are coming up to me saying they won't let me wear my T-shirt. Like, Josh, what do you mean? Why didn't you handle that 2 days ago in the 48 hours?
Yeah, it's interesting that you talk about this lack of or claim of lack of ability to control. And the reason I bring it up and I'm focused on it, about 3 years ago, I happened to be at an event and Governor Kemp was there. And it was right after Raffensperger had announced that he was taking our voter database and porting it outside under a non-bid contract to Salesforce, essentially a subsidiary of Salesforce. And I asked him, his wife was kind enough to make sure, she said, just stand right here, take my arm, and I'll make sure that he's able to answer your question before he leaves. And I said, thank you very much. And he then turned around, and we're nose to nose just about. And I said, Governor, how is it possible that we would allow Secretary Raffensperger to give our voter database to an outside company that, one, has never done this work before, and two, that we have no idea whether they even can? Why would this be allowed? And his answer was similar to, well, I don't have any control over the Secretary of State unless you want me to be a dictator. And all I could think when you said this the other day was, that's almost, not other than the dictator comment, it's almost verbatim to what Josh said. I don't have any control. And yet everything that you've described signifies that there are points of control that are used frequently. The NDA is a great example. All the stuff that Hank Sullivan has been writing about that does not appear to be supported in either rules or law Yet, McKoon and others are doing it. Just like haberdashery. Let's just go get it done. That just doesn't fly with me.
I agree. And everything, the reason I released the call, and it took me 4 or 5 days to come to resolve to do that. I counseled with many people. I sent the call to about 5 people that are just trusted sources that I counsel with. And I said, what would you do? And I came to the decision that it's just too crucial of a time. And somehow we have to show people the real Josh McKoon, because Josh can stand in front of a room and he can sound he can sound very professional, very polished. He's a smooth talking politician.
He's an actor.
Exactly. He's a great actor.
Is Hank Sullivan on the set with us?
Yeah, no, Todd's 100% right. And he can do a good job, and he can answer your questions, and he can come across as though he's interested in you. It's a politician. He's well trained. He's an actor. And I said, people have to know the real Josh. And I want to switch gears on one thing, because remember, we're 90 days in. All right. So people have actually put on social media that it's petty. It's petty. The whole, well, David didn't get an email and BKP didn't get an email. That's petty. All right. So I go to Josh. We have the 3 electors, and I'm going to say this, and I'm not going to be negative about Sean Still or David Schaefer. And I'm not going to be negative about any of the electors that were in the room that day. I want to be very clear. But the real hero in the room that day, okay, was Kathy Latham. All right. That was the real hero in the room that day. And that's not a negative thing to any of the others. But we decided to indemnify 3 people and say the Georgia GOP is going to pay those bills that Fani Willis is attacking them and indicting them and trying to put them into prison. So we make that decision. We know it. We know we have to raise the money. The whole entire country knows Fani Willis's name. The whole entire country knows what's happening in Georgia. So we leave Columbus. I want an email address for to be legit, and I want to do a national campaign. I want to drop $6 million into a legal fund, a national campaign. That way we could raise money over here, right? We can raise money over here for the election. So I talked to Josh about that. My wife operates on a daily basis a conservative digital marketing company from A to Z. She does everything, okay? And we were not charging anything. I say to Josh McKoon in Columbus, look, we're going to donate our company. We're going to donate the company, okay? We need to get the website, the Georgia GOP website. We got to get it where they could take donations. We got to get our story right on the front. You go to the Georgia GOP Inc. website, and boom, our story. Fani Willis is coming after us. Please donate today, $25 or $50,000. Help, 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 right? Mm-hmm. All the above. And you know what? Josh says his famous line. That's something I think we can talk about. That's something I think. So I'm in Columbus. I'm offering him our company. I'm offering him, no charge, volunteer. That's where I really got frustrated when he said, my wife's a volunteer. I said, well, in the phone call, I said, my wife wanted to be a volunteer, So here's the point. There is a point. So we could have, now Josh goes around talking about all the money he raised and that his focus was to defend the 3 falsely accused, alternate electors. And I get that. But he didn't raise no money no matter what he says. And something's wrong, guys, that he didn't raise enough money, because $3 million in the grand scheme of trillion-dollar, president, governor races, politics across the country, $3 million is a tip for one of Josh's steak dinners. Okay.
Yeah.
And the point I'm making is we go to the first state committee meeting. He reports a 17,000. Now you heard it right on the tape, Bill. He reports we only in 3 months raised $17,000 to defend the electors. And I told him on the phone, I said, Josh, 3 months after the fact, the website still says David Schaefer on it. The website doesn't say to donate. The website does not tell us our story. I wanted to do a national campaign 3 months after the fact. And I said, Josh, we knew in advance. So when Josh comes out and says, I have a plan, I'll look you right in the eye. It's on the phone call. Josh couldn't even put a plan together to truly raise money to pay our legal bills. Josh couldn't put a plan together to truly raise money to pay our legal bills and then have some money to help some state house members or counties or anything.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, it was remarkable. He was talking about being the head coach who won the Super Bowl, and then a week later, they get obliterated in 2 county races in Cobb. And apparently, I'm not sure they did anything to help at all, and get obliterated, and the Democrats win. It's like, well, wait a minute, coach, what happened here? So, Todd, I know you wanted to get in your other story, and then there's one other thing I think I'd like you to stick around for, BKP, because I think you'll enjoy this last piece that we talk about if you can.
Yeah, this will be quick. We all know the Laken Riley story and what happened to her. She was killed by a Venezuelan immigrant, illegal immigrant. Well, we have another lady who's been murdered. We know it was by a Venezuelan, Ava Moore, who was an Air Force Academy cadet. My alma mater. She was hit by a person on a jet ski, and it looks intentional. And the Department of Homeland Security has come out and said they're going to try for the death penalty. So she was kayaking, and a jet ski intentionally ran into her. It looks like, I don't know the intentional part, but it doesn't look good. And I don't think DHS would be saying that if it wasn't intentional. So another young woman with her whole life in front of her. I just wanted to mention that because it's my alma mater. And it's also brought to you by the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society, the same people that brought in Laken Riley, working also with the Catholic Aid Society. So these people need to be held accountable. You know, beautiful young woman that's just taken from us, talented, got into the Air Force Academy, and she's dead. So back to you, Bill.
Okay. So, in BKP, I think you're going to be excited by what we talk about next. We won't go into too much detail, but we showed this last week, and this is.
Oh, I was worried you were wanting me to do a Diddy update, and I was going to say I'm not ready for that. Okay, I'm not ready for that.
No, we'll do that on the special, Georgia show midnight hour. How about that?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so we looked up in Transparency USA. Many people have used this to do research on the Georgia Republican Party, but we found something that I don't think others had spotted, and that is, these very unusual, very tiny, small donations. And you find this, if you go to the Georgia Record, you'll find a link that allows you to go directly to this. But essentially, it's you look up the contributions, you sort on the name of the contributor. And in this case, the name of the contributor is anonymous. Now, anonymous can mean a lot of things, but when it's $1 and it's anonymous and there's 91 pages at least of these transactions, it hits the radar. There's something doesn't seem normal here. We're not excluding the possibility it's normal, but we haven't seen this before. So we reached out to some folks around the country that are very expert in money movement as it relates to campaigns. And I believe that by tomorrow morning, we will begin seeing data coming back from these folks. They are looking through their own data and seeing similarities between what we see here and what we see in other situations. And so we're not going to jump ahead and try to guess what they're going to show, but we do believe that there's something that requires a bit more look-see here. And so with their very gracious help, we expect to be able to bring that out beginning tomorrow. Now, this may not maybe more than one step, but again, we're talking about the very best in the country that look at this kind of stuff. And we've reported on these odd money movements in the past and seen some very troubling things here in Georgia. This is the first time it's surrounded the Georgia GOP, but we've seen things with regard to Fannie Willis. We've seen things with regard to even Brian Kemp. And so we wonder what'll come here. So if you will please monitor Georgia Record, monitor our X accounts tomorrow, I believe that you'll be able to see things beginning to bubble up that may be important to know. So with that, BKP, let's see, we've got a few minutes left. Last thoughts or last observations, sir?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you because I want to thank Bill and Todd. But Bill does a lot of research articles. I've said this before on this program, where he digs in and he can go into the backside of some of these websites, and he puts out some great graphics. So I do want to say this. I give him credit, but a lot of times on our daily morning show, the Georgia Hour, a lot of the stuff I reference, amazing work with Rosetta Stone, John Garsht. I want to say this right now, and I'll say it over and over. If the man on the screen would not have walked up to a microphone and said, "Excuse me, why is a Dominion lobbyist name on a Trump-endorsed slate of delegates to go to Wisconsin?" A Dominion former lobbyist would have went to Wisconsin, wore a Georgia delegate badge, and been there in representation for Donald Trump. Bill, thank you. I mean, I'll say it. I'll say it months and months and months every time. So I want to thank you for that. I appreciate that a lot.
Very gracious.
Because I was looking at what you just put on the screen, and the other morning, you should feel good. You're one of the 40 websites in the morning that I scroll through. I use my Evelyn Woods.
I got to ask, where do I rank?
We're not going to go there right now. Right after the Daily Beast. No, you asked. You walk right into it. You got
that.
Okay?
Is going to leave a mark.
So,
okay.
No. So every morning I use my Evelyn Woods speed reading course, and I go through about 40 websites seeing what's happening. And Bill, I want to tell you, I appreciate it. I always go there, and I'm like, whoa. I looked at it the other day, and I said, here's the thing that gets me, is Josh and the others would be like, God forbid you ask. It's like everything we look at is like, why would you dare ask? Who are you to ask? So yeah. I appreciate that. I want to close with something. I released an audio. It's gone viral. And my last phone call, I talked to my wife. My last phone call was my sister. And I said, do I release this audio? I mean, I don't feel right about it. I just don't feel right about it. My sister said, Josh McKoon did everything he could. He participated in every way he could to attack your children, your family, your wife, and destroy you. You owe him nothing. Folks, that just should not be the person running the Georgia GOP. We should have a leadership team at the top that we can trust, feel good about. Lori should be able to go in there and get the confidence, put the confidence in there that everyone needs. David has that 1% plan, Bill. That's just amazing. If 1% would give $25, we would cover the operating costs for the entire Georgia GOP for a year. And there's some great things 2026 that he has with a team of good people to get everyone involved and get everybody fired up, where it's not just being negative about Josh McKoon, but I call it the cover-up team, where they have, let's maintain the party, and I don't mean the party. Let's maintain the structure. So, Bill, next time we come on, I'd like to do a segment on the pardon of the Chrisleys. I'd like to get an update of the Diddy. Okay, and I'm appealing tonight for Joe Exotic, the Tiger King, to be pardoned by Donald Trump. I'm sorry. You should never leave me out there with the possibility of something I might say.
All right. Well, it's been a pleasure having you on. We will. I too watch what you have just about every day. I may not be able to spend 3 hours all at one crack, but I often go back and review because you come up with wonderful and important stuff. So well done. And Todd, what have you got as we close?
Sign up for our no ad subscriptions, guys. Support the network. I had a guy on a sailboat in the Mediterranean email me multiple times over the last day or two saying, I signed up for your no ads. I love it. I get news from all over the world. I can't trust any of the European press. I'm a patriot in Europe, and I just love your network. So thank you, and I really appreciate the support. So if you can go in and sign up, hit that box and put your payment information in. It's $10 a month or $100 a year. You get access to all of CDM across the network with no ads. So thank you.
Sailing in the Med, huh? Was he a French guy? Was he a French guy?
I don't know. I know he's Dalmatian, he said.
Oh, interesting. Well, I can imagine how the email ended. Oh, I'm sailing next to Macron and his wait, huh? Never one to be upended. Gentlemen, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, and we'll be back together soon, I'm sure.
Thank you.